Please give this video a like and subscribe!
Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and this is X Spaces, which used to be the Badger Lodge, but I've been using X to do them instead because I can get anyone to call in and, give their thoughts, and I can moderate the space myself. So, Allison is working on a video that has to do with. Essentially, she's gonna be making a video about silver and why what's happening with our financials and our metals and everything is a men's issue. So look forward to seeing that video. It might come out on Friday, and it'll be my first time seeing it too. I don't know what it's gonna have in it, but she does have something in the works that you know how Allison is. She gets obsessive over something. And that becomes like the only thing that matters until, it's done. So, anyway, so we're going to be talking today about feminist psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic feminism. And the reason for that is a couple of things. We've talked about on this channel how the American Psychological Association takes their cues, as it were, from feminist theory because it is the mainstream theory taught in universities. And as a result of that, it's going to have an effect on, how we treat men. And, you guys probably know that men are much less likely than women to seek therapy and seek psychiatric help. And I think a big part of the reason for this is that they don't feel like it is a welcoming place for them. And the American Psychological Association's guidelines for treating men are a very good example of why that is. And so we got this paper here by Christina Wolf, which kind of goes into psychoanalytic feminism, which I think is like one of the root things behind the way that we do psychoanalysis and therapeutic treatment for men and women. So I think that it's a good thing to look at. And I want to relate it to something else that's happened. I have heard this news in Virginia, my state, which has recently had a change in government, let's say. Lisa Brighton made a post, and Lisa Brighton, or I think it's Brighton, it might be Britain, friend of the channel, been on the channel once before, back when the Me Too movement was starting out. She used to be a journalist that worked on, I think it was like a Hollywood magazine of some kind. And she's been a very staunch advocate for men, particularly on X. She also, I believe she runs or at least writes for EV Magazine, which is kind of like at least, on paper, a non-feminist website for women, and kind of like Elle, but like less woke, a lot less from what I understand. Anyway, so she is always advocating for men, and she made this post where she said, this was on February 16th, so like 2 days ago. She said, update, the Virginia Senate passed SB 447 unanimously, 36-0, making way for signaling of the nation's first legislatively created commission to address the issues facing boys and men. Progress. Hopefully other states follow. I love sharing good news. Now, I made me wonder, what is this, bill, SB, Senate Bill 447, and in what way is it going to help men and boys? Because, forgive me, but when the government says they're going to fix something, I become extra wary of them. So I looked at this. The thoughts, this is what one of the other MRAs on X posted. Wallace Unchained said that he's a bit skeptical of this. And here's what he wrote. Lisa Brighton's post celebrates the unanimous 36-0 passage of Virginia Bill 447 on February 17, 2026. establishing the U.S.'s first advisory commission dedicated to addressing challenges faced by boys and men in areas like education, health, and workforce development. The bill, introduced by Democratic senators in January of this year, builds on growing recognition of gender-specific disparities, with the commission set to report findings and recommendations to the Virginia General Assembly annually. U.S. data highlights urgent needs, including 28% of boys aged 3 to 17 facing mental or developmental issues compared to 23% of girls, alongside boys' lower educational attainment and higher suicide rates, underscoring the commission's potential impact. So the reason why this all sounds good on paper, but I am extremely suspicious because the important question now becomes, how are we going to address this? What is it they are identifying as the problem, or at least what the culprit of the problem is? I mean, they seem to see that there are issues. I think Virginia in particular is doing very poor in education for boys and girls. But then how would the government fix that? Like it's one thing to say, here's a problem, but another thing is how you go about addressing the problem. And I have a bit of a concern about this. So let me also finish what Wallace basically said. So he asked if, of these issues, was there going to be any indication of addressing domestic violence against men and boys as part of the commission? And this is what he learned. No, there is no explicit mention or indication in the text of Virginia Senate Bill 447 that domestic violence against men and boys is going to be part of the Virginia Boys and Men Advisory Commission, the scope or their duties. The bill is only going to be focused on the following areas: education inequity, which concerns me right off the bat. Anytime I hear that equality and equity in like in an administrative way or a legislative way, I think that there's cause for alarm, because I think just in general, the government is trying to like move the needle on things or tip the scales. I don't think that that's the way to do it. Economic opportunities, okay, but they're going to do that while not addressing the issues that men and boys face with regards to, like how could you alter that? Are you going to essentially, like, I don't know, force companies to hire more men, like by putting in quotas or something? Like, is that the way you solve this problem, is to basically do more state enforcement, more influence, more coercion? Or maybe, do something about the immigration, maybe do something about like men losing jobs, maybe make it like easier for people to start businesses. Maybe there are other ways to do it that involve the state removing itself as opposed to imposing itself. And that's why I'm saying that I don't think this is going to turn out as good as Lisa Brighton thinks it is, but I can understand why she got excited for the sentiment. Disparities in health outcomes. Family life. Again, are you going to do something about no-fault divorce? Are you going to do something about child custody laws? Are you going to do something about like presumed, let's say, shared parenting in the event of a divorce? I don't think that that's what they're going to address. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I brought up the psychology thing because there's the one last thing that I think might be the real big one, is what they're calling, this is another thing they want to address, is the impact of social media use. So Virginia, the government of Virginia, wants to do something about the impact of social media use on boys as a way of helping them. Do you see how that sounds really nefarious? I mean, even if like it's completely innocently, there's something very nefarious there. So anyway, I decided to do a little bit of digging of my own into this, and I have a summary of this document we're going to be looking at in a moment. First, though, I want to say, if you guys want to join the conversation, there's a link in the description to this video, wherever you're watching it, that will let you jump into the call, and you can raise your hand in the Twitter space, which I just had somebody else join, and I will give you the floor if you want to add something to this conversation. I'm asking you not to derail. I want to talk about this, So, if you have something to add to this or something related to this, that would be great. In the meantime, let me say hello to the people in the chat. First of all, ubiquitous everyman and disabled cell, welcome to the X space. But also people that are watching, Senior Sticks, Gabriel, Gin Bottle, welcome. Zeranx, welcome. Green Indoors. All right, Zeranx gave us a super chat right at the top of the show. Also, guys, if you want to send us a super chow at any point during the show, go to feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip to send us a super chow. And that would be really appreciated. Just give Badger Chan a tip. And I think that she'd like that. All right, so Zeranx says, for $10, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Reagan warned of the 9 worst words, and we still haven't pursued private methods of addressing things, especially with public works for women's results. Shake my head. Yeah, and like the thing is too is that these government bodies that are put together to serve women don't actually help them either. So it's not even like a condemnation on the grounds of, like, oh, it's only benefiting women. It's not really benefiting women in the long run when you think about it. It's actually enabling or incentivizing self-destructive behavior, things like the welfare state, etc. So Senior Sticks gives us $2 and says, the first error is expecting the government at all. Yes, no one expects the government. So anyway, so this commission, so let me see okay, in plain English, the 26-member commission will research the problems that affect men and boys, then hold public events, then collect data, then write reports, and then hand recommendations to the legislators. So, maybe like 4 years we'll get something that looks like a proposal for legislation. The timeline is October of this year, so they must deliver a special one-time report with no more than 3 initial recommendations. So we can follow up in October to see where they stand with this stuff. I got to tell you, I'm not expecting much because I think the states, if they want to improve things for men, making the state larger is not the answer. It's got to be like the state getting out of the way. It's got to be the state like removing itself. But they won't do that. So what I think is happening here is they're applying a kind of like a placebo to this. So they're saying, oh, we see that men and boys have problems. And I think the government can like do more to help that. And the purpose of this ultimately, in my opinion, is to make sure the government remains relevant to the conversation. So they basically say, you need us to get this done, so we're going to stick around. And that's how I know they're not really going to fix anything. Because the truth is that a family that has a father in the home that's taking care of them needs the government less, and they know that. So the government's interest is itself, right? It's a self-perpetuating organism that needs like more justification for its existence in order to survive, or at least like grow. And that's why when I heard they were going to do something for boys and men, I was like, no, you're not. There's no way. Like, and again, I get that there are state solutions, but the state solutions are removing the state or changing the laws that basically remove the state's influence on people's lives. But the state itself is not going to do that. Not on its own, not easily, right? So anyway, so they have to deliver a proposal on October 1st. Every year after that, they have to give a full annual report and effective summary of the General Assembly and Governor to the General Assembly and Governor. The commission sunsets automatically ends on July 1st of 2029 unless the legislature reauthorizes it. So what are they going to do? So they're going to try to address what this means. They're going to try to address essentially radicalization of boys. That's why they're concerned with social media usage. So what the concern appears to be is that men who are in bad shape because their education's not good, because they're not able to find a job, because they're not able to start a family, because they're struggling with, mental health themselves. That's why the suicide statistic comes up. The government's concern with that is not the well-being of those men. It's how those men could affect other people. So they could become dangerous, right? At least that's their theory. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's what they believe. like we have to like tamp this down so we don't get another school shooting or some kind of like, vehicular manslaughter incident or something, right? Like it's not concerned with men as they are. It's concerned with what might happen if they ignore the problem or continue to perpetuate the problem. And so that's when we get into, so okay, they're talking about like improving men's mental health, right? And they're gonna like try and like, I don't know, spend more money, because that's usually what it comes down to, spend more of men's money on services that are supposedly directed at men, because men pay into the systems because they're the bulk of the taxpayers. So then that means that they're gonna get psychology. So we're gonna bring in the psychology, okay? So let's look at this. What is psychoanalytic feminism? I got to put my glasses on. So, and again, if any of you guys that are in the chat want to say something, I'll give you guys a chance to like raise your hands if you want to speak on anything that I've said so far before I get into the other part of this. So we'll stop here for a moment, and I'll look at your comments. All right. So Great Endor says, of course, politicians are only looking into solutions that will offer them and their ilk continuous job/revenue opportunities. Yeah, they can create a whole new ministry. Senior Stick says, isn't tipping Badger Chan sexist and or a arrestable offense? No, she's old enough. Darkest Fairy, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Jim Bottle says, translation censorship incoming. Well, maybe for boys, it's gonna be like controls or surveillance, probably. I mean, they're already doing that. Buzzard says it is in the UK. I don't know what that's in reference to. Sorry. Mr. 0303 says glasses give +3 intelligence. Do they make me look smarter when I put them on? They're my reading glasses. I don't need glasses generally, but I use them for when I'm reading. So I feel like Clark Kent. Let's see. Buzzard says psychoanalytic feminism sounds like a strange repackaging of cultural Marxism that screws the pooch on innocuous verbiage. Yeah, obviously. But thank you for that. Yeah, well, I think I'm actually starting to believe the psychology itself is pretty paused. Like it is itself bad. But okay, so nobody wants to say anything. I'm just gonna go ahead and read the summary of this psychoanalytic feminism paper, which is about 5 pages, well, 4 pages, and then 1 page with references. So what is this basically summed up, okay? Psychoanalytic feminism is a theory of oppression that locates the roots of patriarchy in the unconscious psyche. Men have a deep psychological drive to dominate women, while women show minimal resistance, both patterns formed in early childhood, primarily before age 3. So this is the assumption that this is built on. You see that? This is the foundation of psychoanalytic feminism. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. So like if you are a psychologist or a psychoanalyst, really, you have likely internalized that first sentence as the baseline that you're operating from. Like, why don't men go to therapy? Why not? Do you ever seen that meme of I should have looked for it, but there was a meme of a wife jack or a female Wojak, and she's like at a desk and she's smiling and saying, something about like, why don't you let me take like your normal and rational reaction to the world and psychoanalyze it and put you on medication to like, cause you to deny what's happening. Something like that. I forget what the actual words were, but it was very appropriate, So, let's see. Art Force, feminism repackaging, Freud. Yeah, it is Freudian. It is. Critical theory crap. Yeah. First sentence, and they already white knuckling the female fetishization of men. Yeah, or just the psycho. Oh, we got more people. What's up, Electric Eye? Welcome to the call. If you want to speak up or if you want to say something, go ahead and put a request in, and I'll try to be on the lookout for it because I'm also looking at this paper. Nova Fan gives $1 and says, I'm more confident the system will either further cement the problem until it becomes too late, or they'll start noticing patterns and then noticing the real problem will get it shut down. Yes. What if I were to drug you with Soma? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, back to the summary. That was just the first sentence, okay, of the summary. Emerging from cultural feminism, it draws heavily on Freud's psychosexual development and Lacan's revisions to examine how gender identity, femininity, and masculinity are constructed through parent-child relationships, especially mothering. All this is starting to sound a little bit like it's making sense. Like it's almost like there's something here that you're seeing everywhere around us. Like, what, just throwing it out there, have we noticed a spike in transgender mass murders from men who are, or at least young men who are confused about their identity? And no one seems to, at least a lot of people don't seem to look to see, to what degree does their upbringing have an effect on that? Like, is their father around? If he's not, or if he is he subservient to the wife, to his wife? Right? Is that having an effect? I think in many cases they're not. And a lot of times, just not that this is meant to be like a big segue, but a lot of the time, if not most of the time, these transgender people have abuse in their history because they weren't protected as children or even younger, and it affected them for life, and they never dealt with it. And one of the reasons because we can't criticize women who raise kids like that. So anyway, one branch focuses on micro-level psychology, childhood learning, early sexuality, identity formation, while the other extends to macro-level analysis of how these psychic patterns sustain patriarchal institutions such as the economy, science, language, and the arts. So, childhood learning, early sexuality, identity formation. I mean, I knew Freud was a bit of a kook and a degenerate, like sexually, but like carrying it over for several generations into psychology. I mean, you guys know the story of John Money, right? Like, you guys know about that, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Lacan, I'm out. Buzzard says if she pulls out bananagrams, I bolting. Mangaka says if they notice that the father isn't around, a lot of them blame it on weak men. No father in the home, weak men make hard times. Yeah, I know. Let's see. Alderian therapy psychology is goal oriented. Oh, like all Adlerian. I'm sorry, Adlerian. Yeah. Okay. Freud had ideas. All right. Central to both is the mother-daughter dynamic. Theorists like Nancy Chodrow, Dorothy Dinnerstein, Jessica Benjamin, and Jane Flax argue that mothers bond differently with daughters through sameness, producing flexible egos and a need for connection, than with sons, through difference, producing abstract masculinity, separation, and a drive for autonomy and achievement. This early split creates rigid, dualistic gender roles and heterosexual norms, with boys learning dominance and girls learning subordination. So, like, again, there's another paragraph that summarizes this, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, these are the foundations of much of the mental health, let's say, I don't know, industry, culture, and psychology, right? I mean, I obviously there are those that don't follow that. I remember I went to an AMA conference years ago with an MRA guy, old school guy. I can't remember his name now, unfortunately. And he was trying to sell a book there that was essentially trying to challenge the AMA guidelines. This was like right when we learned about them. This is years back. And I mean, the AMA guidelines are built on the concept of toxic masculinity and male privilege as like a baseline thing. And this is the precursor to that, right? So when they say psychoanalytic feminism, I think they just mean psychology. Like, that's what it is right now. You know, it's like everyone is to some degree that's in the field has come across or run into this, and most of those people have likely internalized most of it, right? So they already believe this, and this is part of it's actually perpetuating the thing that it believes. So like psychoanalytic feminism states that men are the way they are because of socialization, because of they're trained this way, and girls are the way they are, which is subordinate to men. They can't help it because of socialization as well. So they are already baking into the cake the idea that because we know this socialization works on men and women, then we're going to use it on men and women by basically like infecting the entire, you know, whatever we call the mental health field with this kind of ideological commie gobbledygook, which is what it is. And it makes you wonder, and I'm sorry, but this is just where I'm at with it. It makes me wonder if psychology was ever legitimate. Like, it just does. Like, I've never gone to a therapist. I've never taken anything for my brain, so maybe I'm not the guy to listen to. I've never done it, but I don't think that I would. Even if I thought I was going crazy, I would just go crazy. Like, I would just let it happen. I'd feel like, because I think that in a world like this, you know, you're going to get like looked at as though you're crazy if you have a problem with things as they are, right? So, all right. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Let's see. I know some Scottish art. Buzzard says the predictor for transvestites is forced transvestism at a young age as a punishment, or the mother being an awful. Yeah. Mangaka says if girls are learning subordination, then they fucking suck at it. Jim Bottle says they're using feminism and stealing Freudian terminology. I don't know if they're stealing it. I think that these things are connected. I hate to tell you that, but I think that there is a connection there. I don't think that they're stealing it and then repurposing it. I think that's where, like, this is like where it was going to go, you know? Buzzard says, I'm pretty sure men are resistant to social normalization contagion, and their voice literally knows women. Yeah, well, that's why they get them when they're boys. So, Shubo says, why do women absolutely despise male-only spaces? Why have they demolished every male-only space? Why is single-sex education for men not allowed? Well, in some places they are, but it's because men gathering without the oversight of women makes women afraid. It makes women afraid that men are plotting against them because women are generally more paranoid. I don't know how else to put it. Like, they are the more vulnerable sex. And on some like deep level, they have this understanding that if men wanted to, women would just be done. Like, if men just wanted to. So they feel like they need to constantly see what men are up to. And they won't let men congregate on their own. Now, of course, men don't have to put up with that at all. They could just say, no, you're not joining the space. So the real question you should be asking is that why are so many men willing to let women into their spaces or let women into other male spaces? Why do men allow that? Because I think that ultimately that's what it is, right? Unless they get it from their mom, which is also possible. So, okay, so women project their own behaviors on a man. Yeah. Anyway, next paragraph, or the other part of the summary here. The entry also explores how these psychic structures reproduce larger social divisions, such as the sexual division of labor, male bias knowledge production. That's Carol Gilligan's critique of Kohlberg. I don't know who that is. I'll have to look that up. And phallocentric culture, while critiquing the framework itself. Phallocentric. What's phallocentric culture? Like all the books women like to read? Is that what it is? So this also presumes, this has to be insane, that men and women's different socializations and upbringings is why men are working in environments that women won't work in. And it has nothing to do with the fact that women can't do those jobs, I guess. Like, they physically can't do it. Like, well, here's why there's so many male firefighters. It's because women are not socialized to be firefighters. Can you socialize someone into having an 18 strength? You can't, like, this is ridiculous. Like, we are different on purpose. That's like, it's so ridiculous. All right. Let me see. Is anyone? No one wants to say anything. All right. Limitations include heavy reliance on Freud and Lacan. So these are limitations of the paper, with fathers more involved in caregiving, assumptions of heterosexuality, and neglect of race, class, and other intersections, of course, because we gotta throw in the multicolored salad in there with our side of like anti-male beef. Later scholars addressed these by incorporating postmodern and post-structuralist ideas to make gender more fluid and less binary. Overall, the theory aims to cure patriarchy by reshaping early socialization and unconscious patterns, offering both diagnostic insight and pathways for societal transformation. So you have, this is it. This is the load. This is what they're trying to do. This is why they dominate education, the media, and every other place where we get information or we get our entertainment or whatever it is, because they want to fundamentally use words and images to change our biology. Like, they want to work magic on us, and they're doing it with all of this. But that's what it is. Like, magic is using words to shape reality. That's what they think they can do, and it's insane. That's why postmodernism is like it's their go-to tool for that. Cure patriarchy. Yes, they want to cure it. People need to be offended at anything critical theory. Yes. It's nothing but destructive. Next. Well, it's good to know why this is going on. Gabriel says Freud and company had worthwhile ideas, but it was more philosophy than science. Well, it's being treated like science. So, okay. So, super paused. All absolutely terrible. And Buzzard says the issue with all of this is that babies are racist even in the womb. It is surreal, but implies some amount of biodeterminism. One wonders about sexual dimorphism. I just want to say that racism is not a real thing. There's no such thing. The allegations of racism or just calling something racist it's a desire to control. It's a tool used to control people. Having preferences, if you're, that's not racist. That's just having preferences. Like, no, we're all allowed to have them. We all have them. We do it all the time. Discrimination, that's what that is. Discrimination is preferences, right? Discrimination is natural. Like, we all discriminate every day, all the time. I am here doing this show because I discriminated against doing anything else, right? I had a choice. I didn't have to do the show. I could have gone to bed. I could have, chosen to go outside for a walk. I could have stayed, play video games, whatever. But I chose to do this. So I discriminated against all those other things. Now, some discrimination is wise and some is not. Like, going to work is smart because you need money. So racism could exist on some people. I don't agree. In-group bias is evolutionary. Yeah. Right. And, it's like, why are, for example, when a woman is on the pill, okay, her body is screwed with, because what happens is the pill makes her think that she's pregnant, and her body reacts to the belief that she is pregnant and therefore needs support in pregnancy. So she tends to be drawn to people who are more familial, or more familiar, as in familial, and may even have a closer genetic connection to than if she wasn't. So when a woman is on the pill, she is drawn to men that she would not be attracted to otherwise. That's why when women are off the pill is when you want to be around them, because if they're attracted to you and they're not on the pill, then that means it's a real attraction. And I think that there's things at work, like mechanisms that are happening that we're not aware of, that we're unconscious of all the time. And I think that it's also to prevent us from accidentally, let's say, doing anything incestuous or that could be considered incestuous and bad for the baby, right? And it's like, what are pheromones? I think that there's something about that we're not giving the proper amount and these people who who think everything is socialized, they're actually doing a lot of harm in those in not letting our natural, a state of being be how we move through the world. So Buzzard's, you're right. Racism is social contagion invented by Trotsky. Yes. But like having in group preference, they'll say that that's racist. I mean, we already know that that's happening now, right? And but like it's not letting people just be, right? The pill shrinks the brain by 10%. Wow. Discrimination builds civilization. Yes. Shubo says male-only schools and colleges are also not allowed at all. Women do not allow them. Boys and men are doing incredibly poorly in education. They have for a long time. Yes, I know, and that's what this bill that I was just talking about. One of the things that it is supposedly going to address is that, but the problem is that they're not going to make the changes that are necessary. Because I did substitute teaching for a little while, and what I noticed is that the way that schools are organized now, it's all around women's or girls' ways of learning and not boys' ways of learning. And I know that we've talked about this. I think Dr. Warren Farrell's talked about it. I think Janice has talked about it. And many other people. Boys learn best when they are interacting with something. Like they use their hands or something like that. They also have a different kind of energy that they need to let out, right? So at least the schools that I worked at, they allowed recesses, but a lot of schools don't have recess. And so boys end up, pent up. They got all this energy. They're distracted. They're nervous. And then what do? We put them on medication because they're not acting right. Hence, we go back to the psychology thing. So what are these bills going to do? Are they going to try to change the way boys are educated? Are they going to put more male teachers in schools? Are they going to make segregated schools? Probably not. Because, well, they could do segregated schools if they think it's going to bring more money to the government. That is an approach they could do. But I don't think they're going to put male teachers in those schools. I think they're going to fill them with female teachers anyway. And because there's generally a bias towards female teachers, right? So, and this isn't even something that's put into like legislation or on paper. It doesn't have to be. Like people just assume these people who are totally like gender, gender's a social construct people, they still prefer women running schools because they think men are predatory. So they won't do it. Anyway, did he create tribalism? No, but you're talking about Trotsky's usage of racism, but that's the thing. Like tribalism exists anyway. Like, is it racist that, like, say one people from Africa, like I don't know, Uganda, strongly dislike people from another country in Africa, like Nigeria? Like they're African, but if they don't like each other, do we call that, like even in Somalia, for example, there are different tribes in Somalia, right? And so like there was a guy that was running for, I think it was governor of Somalia, in Minnesota, and he lost the election not because the white people voted him out or whatever, but it was because the Somalis that were of a different tribe didn't want him. So tribalism, yeah, that's natural. That's like the natural state, right? Of people. And I think that racism is just taking something like in-group preference or pattern recognition or tribalism to some degree and then trying to make it pejorative so that you can use it to control people. So it's not that these things didn't exist before it was given a name. It's that the name is used as a tool to control people's behavior, especially good people. Because if you call a person who is, like really has hatred for another tribe a racist, do you think they're going to care that you call them that? Probably not. So then you use it on people who don't want to be seen that way. And they will change their behavior because they're trying to avoid that label. Like any other ism or phobia or misogyny or whatever it is. All of those things are just like used to control people. That's all it is. So, anyway, let's see what you guys are saying. Nobody's raising their hand, so we're only going to go for another 20 minutes. So if you're in here and you're like waiting for your right moment, now is the time. I am looking at the X chat, so And if you were here hoping that you get to talk to Allison, I apologize. It's just me. Okay. Let's see what you guys in the chat are saying, though. Despite the jokes about Europeans being highly inbred, they are the most likely to respect or experience the Westermack effect. Least genetic variance, but greatest biodiversity and stability. Yeah, I know there's jokes about like the aristocracy, right? The Habsburg jaw people. But yeah, it's definitely a big problem in the Middle East and Africa, and also in the urban black community. I've talked about it too. Like, there's a lot of accidental incest that happens. I mean, even also intentional incest, but like a lot of accidental incest where you have, you live in a community, right? And there's um, a lot of women that are banging the same guy, or the same small group of men, and then they're all getting pregnant with those men, and then their kids grow up to be teenagers and they meet each other and they don't know that they're related because they're banging all the same dudes, right? So like this is and you create this problem because of this like I don't know what you even call it, this apex hypergamy, right? So okay. The Arab tribes still haven't achieved unity after all these centuries. Yeah, well, there's still tribalism. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're not that far removed from that as Westerners. Like, we could fall into that easily. And in fact, if you look around, you're seeing some of that already happening. Like, some people are becoming more tribal because they feel like they need to defend themselves. Anyway, but yeah, urban blacks, yes, they are incestuous. But again, I don't know that it's on purpose. I think it's because of that hypergamy, right? If all the women in the hood are banging the toughest drug dealer, and they're all getting pregnant by him, and their kids are meeting up with each other, not knowing that they're actually like half sister or whatever, or half brother, then you're gonna get like incestuous babies. All right, but anyway, so and again, that's just the truth of it. So, all right, let's see. What else can I look up since nobody's saying anything? We got about 15 minutes, and then I gotta like wrap it up. So, what happens? Let me see. How will these issues be? Let's say, how will these issues be addressed if the bill passes? All right. Let's see what you guys are saying in the meantime. No sponsor, Brian? What do you mean, no sponsor? We don't do sponsors here. But if you guys want to support the channel, go to feedthebadger.com/support to help us continue to do this work. So, let's see. The whole meta-predatory thing is a lie sold by feminism. Of course it is, yeah. Well, it's to keep men from getting into basically getting jobs. So, here are, let's see. So there's nothing like concrete in terms of how the bill is going to address things, but I will say that according to this, the commission will do the studies and then make recommendations. The General Assembly decides whether to turn any of these recommendations into actual law, budget items, or programs in future sessions. The bill is deliberately designed as a low-cost, non-binding first step, basically an official task force that puts boys' and men's issues on the radar with data and expert advice. Now, you know what I think would be a good thing, and I know they won't do this, but I think that this is what they should do. I would get men's rights activists involved in this. People who have like done the work. Get Warren Farrell on the team, and I'll breathe easier because I know that he is at least, like, first of all, very well informed on the issues, and I think he'll know how to fix them better, right? So I don't know what you guys think about that, but if there is going to be an issue, that would, to me, make sense to be the way to address the issue. I see someone just joined the call. Casually Divine, welcome, Casually Divine. Blessings from Mother Earth and the stars of heaven. Positive affirmations from the cosmos. I don't know if you want to say anything since you're blessed us with your presence, but if you wish, please raise your hand and I'll give you the floor. We got about 10 minutes and I got to wrap it up there. So, okay, let's see what you guys are saying. In the meantime, we were just talking about psychoanalytic feminism and why it's cancer, and also the the fact that this new law that, or at least this bill that just passed in Virginia to address men's issues may not be the win that a lot of people think it is, or some people think it is, because again, just passing legislation is not really a win, So, all right, I got a request. Let's see. Casually Divine wants to say something. So, Casually Divine, I've just given you the floor and you left. Okay. All right. Well, like a white deer sipping from the pond, she has fled when I went to invite her. Just like something out of mythology, she is gone. I was just giving her the floor. Oh well. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe she just disconnected. That bill is likely window dressing. Yeah, my thinking is at best, it's virtue signaling. That's what I think. It's like a it's like a Band-Aid. It's not even a Band-Aid. It's basically like a declaration. Oh, we care about this. See, we passed the bill. But I mean, they're just going to spend money on studies. It's probably not going to go anywhere. I don't expect any consequences. So, divinely left, yeah. Yeah. I wasn't close enough to do divinity to get her to stay. So, you gave her the floor, Brian. That sounds like simp behavior. No, that would be, if I was on the floor, that'd be simp behavior. I gave her the floor. I showed her the floor. I don't even know if it's a woman, to be honest. I don't know why I'm saying it is. I mean, it sounds like some womanly shit to put in your bio, though, to be fair. So, you gave her the floor, but she is the table. That's true. That's true. She is the table. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else. I mean, I may have to just wrap it up a little bit early because no one's saying anything, and I think I've said everything I wanted to say. So, see if you guys have any questions or thoughts, or you could still send a super chat or super chow. feedthebadger.com/just the tip. I appreciate it. Bob the Darkest Theory says, and they said critical theory wouldn't leave the universities. Oh no, critical theory is like it's like all the others. It's like critical race theory, right? It's not something that you have to teach. It's baked into the way teaching is done. So it's not that you have to teach critical theory, because you don't. It's baked in. Like, the people who work at these places, they can't separate themselves from the mindset that critical theory creates, because it's in them already. So they are passing it on unconsciously because they've internalized it. So you don't have to teach it. That's why when the critical race theory is going around, everybody was like, nobody's teaching kids critical race theory. It's like, no, they're applying it to teaching. They're not teaching it, right? Critical theory that's what it is. Like, it's not a thing you teach. It's the way that you view the world. It's the way that you talk about things. You're operating within a framework. It's a framework. Keep us appraised on that Senate bill. Yeah, I will when I know when. Well, we'll have to wait until October of this year to see. Hopefully I remember. So, Shubo says feminists hate traditional psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, religious studies, Folklore studies, theology. Yeah. It is baked in like bacon in your mashed potatoes. Well, it's basically the potatoes in your mashed potatoes now. That's what it is. So, I hate to tell you that, but it's baked in for sure. All right, well, I guess as no one else is gonna say anything, I'm gonna like wrap it up here then. So, thanks guys for coming on the stream and hanging out and not making fun of me for wearing glasses. We're gonna end the show there, and I will see you guys on Friday. We're gonna do a thing with Teal Deer, and we're gonna be looking at more feminist nonsense with him. So maybe that'll be fun for you guys. But yeah, so if you guys don't mind liking this video, or disliking it if you don't like it, subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed, hitting the bell for notifications, and leaving us a comment. Let me know what you guys think about what I talked about on the show, psychoanalytic feminism, and its relationship to the way that we do psychology, why men don't go to therapy, and the Senate bill that's supposedly going to address the issues and how that relates to those things. And yeah, leave me a comment about that. And don't forget to share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the X Space, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.